Support provided by the Chesapeake and Newport News with chef-centric farm-to-table dining. thechesapeake.org.
Hey friends, welcome to another edition of Cooking with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Sennett, the chef for the show. Welcome back to the Jazz Kitchen, and hope all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to prepare for you. I personally don't eat a lot of red meat. I haven't for a few years now. My own personal reasons why I don't, but occasionally I do. But when I was growing up, my grandmother would make a roast, right? But she would use old school ingredients to make this roast, right? Like Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, right? And Lipton's onion soup mix. And you're like, wow, how? But then it would get done, you would taste that gravy and the tenderness of the meat, and it was just like, oh my God. So over the years, whenever I made this roast, I just kind of twisted it a little bit to my way, but I kept some of those old school ingredients happening in the roast. So here, okay, I have, this is basically a chuck roast, okay? So you want to get a piece of meat that has some good marble in it, and because that's going to give you some flavor. Some of that fat is going to give you some of that good flavor. But it's important how you cook this meat. Now, I seasoned it, I got it at room temperature, okay, so it can bake evenly. And pull that off of there, because I'm going to put the meat in there. And I seasoned it with salt and pepper, healthy dose of salt, pepper. Well, not too much salt, because there's salt in the cream of mushroom soup, and then there's salt in that Lipton onion soup mix. But black garlic pepper, okay? You don't have to use black garlic pepper, but that's what I use. Black garlic pepper, salt, a little bit of onion powder. You say, why onion powder when you're using an onion soup mix? Well, it's getting in the meat. It's that flavor. And some garlic powder and a little bit of smoked paprika on this meat. I rub it in the meat pretty sternly. I get these seasonings in the meat, and then I let it sit for about 15 minutes, okay? Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go over here to the stove. Actually, I'm going to lift this up because I'm going to sear. Let's go over here to the stove with this meat. Okay. Woo, yeah. Okay. I have some olive oil in the pan, okay? Wipe my hands here. Throw that away. And I'm only going to sear this just for a couple of minutes on each side to get it a little bit brown, okay? And I can smell this, some of that garlic powder and the onion powder coming off there, and some of that smoked paprika. The rule of thumb, now I have the oven preheating at 300 degrees. You want it to cook slowly at a lower temperature. So you don't want your temperature 375, 400 degrees. Don't do that. You want it to cook slowly because you give the meat a chance to break up. You give some of the, it tenderizes, it helps tenderizes the meat when you slow cook it for a period of time. You can put it in a slow cooker, right? You can even try to pan cook it all the way through it. I wouldn't recommend that. But I'm baking this, okay? Now, I would bake it in a saucepan that I can roast things in, but I'm not going to do that. Like if I was just doing a regular pot roast with vegetables and the meat and onions, carrots, potatoes, stuff like that, I'd probably just keep it in the same pot. But this is kind of a different kind of thing. All right, so let's turn this over. All right. Now, the rule of thumb is you bake it for an hour per pound of meat. All right. So this is a little more than 2.5 pounds, about 2 3/4 pounds. So I would bake it for almost 3 hours, about 3 hours. That should give you a really good piece of meat there. And again, at 300 degrees, so you don't want to go much higher. You don't want to go any higher than that. And just cook it, just let it just take its time and do its thing. So when I take it out of this pan, I'm going to set it in this aluminum foil here. Okay? Just for a few seconds longer. We're not trying to cook the meat in here, it just singe the outside of the meat. Okay? Okay. Let me put this over one more time. Yeah, now you see it starts to get a little bit of the brown color there. So I'm going to turn this off. Now, I'm going to set this meat in this pan here. Okay, let's go back over to the counter. All right. So, we have that there. So here's what we're going to do. I have a couple of cans of some of this Campbell soup, but the healthy version, so there's no MSG in this particular brand. Okay. The company's interesting because they'll make soups and everything, put MSG in the soups, and then now they started making the soup without the MSG. All right, some good old-fashioned onion soup mix, Lipton. Okay. That's one. Let's put another can of the soup mix. And you're thinking, man, what kind of roast are you doing with that mushroom soup? I tell you what, when this meat is cooking and some of that fat is being rendered, and one more. Okay, so that's pretty good there. There we go. All right, now I want to make sure it's evenly spread all over the meat. Okay, and you get the soup mixed in with the soups mixed in with each other. Okay. Cream of mushroom soup, the healthy version, without the MSG, and the Lipton onion soup mix. Okay, all right. It's a nice, beautiful swirling color in there too. That onion soup mix. Okay, now here's what we do. This little tricky part here. Create like a little tent. Not touching the meat on top. Okay. Like so. That is pretty much, all right, concealed. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna set this in the oven, 350 degrees. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? One of these racks is too low. So take this rack out here, elevate it. What are we gonna do? Ha! All right, we'll get this in there. There we go. Okay, so put that on the bottom rack in here. Okay, 300 degrees. And we'll set it for 3 hours. So let's see. All right, perfect. 3 hours. I'm I'm gonna call this Jazzy Jae's Grandma's Roast, okay? And when we come back in 3 hours and pull it out of the oven and take off that aluminum foil, and that steam comes up with that smell with the soup and the meat and the seasonings and the spices, you're gonna have yourself a really good piece of meat. So this is when I say, okay, we're gonna do this cool editing thing. I'm going to disappear for 3 hours. And then we're gonna come back, which is only gonna seem like a split second. Come back and we'll take it out of the oven and see what we have. Okay? So let's let it cook. Let's take its time, and then we'll see what we get in 3 hours. Okay. Would you believe that like 3 hours went by? But it only seemed like just a split second here because of the magic of editing. Let's get our roast out of the oven. Okay. It has been in here. Oh, and trust me, I have not taken this thing out of the oven. So I'm crossing my fingers that we have a masterpiece. Oh my goodness gracious! Ooh. Now, let me taste this gravy. Oh man. Oh. This dish, this roast, you know what I want to do too? I want to carve a little piece. And just to look at the meat, let's see. Man. Oh, wow. And it's just so tender. Okay. I want to burn my mouth up, but my mouth is watering. Oh, that's too hot. I'm going to sit here. I'm not going to spend up, minutes just waiting for this little piece to cool off. I can't tell you how good that is. It's so tender. It just almost melts in your mouth. And the flavor, the cream of mushroom soup, Lipton onion soup mix, and some of the spices that I season the meat with. The key to that tenderness is how you cook it, right? You cook it slow. 300 degrees. General rule, about an hour per pound. This was almost 3 hours. Well, almost 3 pounds, so I baked it just about 3 hours. Perfection, truly perfection. Well, now I'm going to go eat because I'm starving. Thank you for watching Cooking with Jay. Today, my roast, I use chuck roast. You can use round, rump roast, whatever. I use chuck roast with this. And I'm just stunned. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how good this is right now. Okay, so Cooking with Jay, Sunday evening, starting at 6 p.m. on the WHO Public Media Facebook page. It stays up on the page. You can scroll down and see other editions of the show as well. But we put a new edition up at 6 p.m. every Sunday. Okay, and as always, don't forget about my jazz shows. Send It in Session, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 to 1, Saturday mornings, 1 until 5, Sunday afternoons from 1 until 5. My other show I host and produce, on WHRV-FM 89.5, the R&B Chronicles, Friday nights from 7 until 8. I want to thank the Chesapeake for their continued fantastic underwriting support. If you have a business and you're interested in underwriting Cooking with Jay, come on aboard. We'd love to have you. Talk with Diane Rojic from WHRO, and she'll tell you how you can become an underwriter for the show. In the meantime, be safe out there, friends. I'm going to go get into this roast, and you be safe out there, and we'll see you again soon for another edition of Cooking with Jay. All right, take care.
Support provided by the Chesapeake in Newport News, catering to the palate of every single resident. More at thechesapeake.org.